Respect too much. Look, we have to have it. They have to have this done. They can protect it. Denmark, they're wonderful people. And I know the leaders, they're very good people, but they don't even go there. And, you know, because the boat went there 500 years ago and then left, that doesn't give you title to property. So we'll be talking about it with the various people. We've had tremendous success, and I've done more for NATO than anybody else. I don't think you'd have.
That's probably the biggest statement I made, because people thought I would use force. I don't have to use force. I don't want to use force. I won't use force.
Friends, what you just saw was a remarkable turnaround. Trump just spoke at Davos a few minutes ago. And if you remember, for the past few weeks, he's been saying that I'm going to take Greenland, and his threats have become increasingly sinister. He's been saying that I'm going to use, I could do anything. I might even use force. I could do anything I want. I want it. He's been building up pressure. And suddenly he goes to Davos today and says, I'm going to rule out any use of force, but I want Europe to immediately negotiate with me because we have done so much for NATO and we've done so much for Denmark, etc. So what happened? What exactly happened? Well, what always happens with Donald Trump is what happened. That is, Donald Trump, when he sees the other side is weak, he keeps pushing for a better and better deal. He becomes more aggressive. He's a typical New York real estate shark. He felt that Europe was weak, and Europe was indeed weak. He felt that they had been, like the rest of the world, fobbing the US, that is, robbing the US through trade deficits. And, Denmark is weak and has this Greenland. One of his friends had told him in his first term that, look, why don't you acquire Greenland? It would be a great acquisition. It's a very valuable piece of land, huge, and your name will be in history. And somehow he's gotten into his mind that his name will be in history if he gets Greenland, because, as you know, the US began just as a thin strip of states along the east coast of the US, the Atlantic coast. And over the 19th century, over the 1800s, the US, had the Louisiana Purchase from France. It took land from Mexico and Spain in different wars, kept extending to the west. It took Alaska, bought Alaska from the Russians. So the US kept expanding in size, and each of those presidents, he feels, is remembered. Jefferson and McKinley and all of those guys are remembered, and he wants to be remembered too. So it would be a great achievement to take Greenland. But he faced a hard pushback. Now you'll say, what is this hard pushback? Well, it's the same pushback that he faced when he started going crazy about tariffs. When he started going crazy about tariffs, he faced two pushbacks. One was from China, which immediately halted sale of all rare earths and magnets, etc., without which most of the car industry, electronics, etc., can't function. The second pushback he faced was more deadly. It was from the bond market. The bond market suddenly increased long-term interest rates on US treasuries, US government T-bills, that is the US government bonds. And he had to listen, like all other previous presidents. When the bond market talks, you have to listen. In fact, if you remember a few years ago, a British Prime Minister lost her job because of the bond market reaction to her budget plans. So this time, the pushback came from the stock market. That is, the US stock market fell yesterday. There was a big fall in the US stock market, almost 2%. That is, over $1 trillion got wiped out. And this rattled Trump clearly, because when he has come here today, in Davos, he was going to probably make more threatening speeches, but instead he has gone for a reconciliatory note. And it's precisely because of that. He's still making some threats, but these are not as potent as a threat of violence, you see. Now what he's saying is things like, hey, it is because of us that you're not speaking German and Japanese. That is, we saved you in the Second World War. That is, we gave back. It was a stupid move to give back Greenland to Denmark after the Second World War. We should have just kept it. He's not wrong. For example, Russia kept a lot of territories. It took over the Baltic states. It took over East Prussia and made it a part of Russia. The Soviet Union took over a lot of territory, the Sakhalin Island, etc., which from Japan. But the United States didn't do any of that. In fact, the United States forced the British to relinquish their colonial possessions, etc., because in those days, that was the view of Roosevelt and Truman, etc. They were Democrats, and also they were in competition with the Soviet Union, so they could not look like imperialists. Now he's threatening them that, look, if you don't do it, I'm going to still press you with more tariffs. That means the tariff rate may go up by 10% on the 1st of Feb, by 25% on the 1st of June. Those threats remain, and maybe there will be some other threats about investments, because he said, look, if you give it to us, we'll be happy. And if you don't give us Greenland, we will remember. We will remember. And he kept saying that, look, we have done so much for NATO over the last 70, 80 years. NATO has never done anything for us, which is not true. NATO did assist the US in Afghanistan. In fact, one of the first countries to assist the US was Denmark, and per capita, they lost the most number of men, that is for their size, fighting in Afghanistan. So it's not true, but according to him, we have paid for your security. That's partly true. We have paid for most of NATO. He didn't even say most, he said all of NATO. And it's time for you guys to pay back. So he wants, like a mafioso who shakes down his clients. He wants a return on investment. Now, how Europe will deal with it is to be seen. But at least one thing is off the table. That is the threat of invasion of Greenland, the threat of defeat, military defeat for Denmark or Europe. Well, Europe didn't ever look seriously like it was going to defend Greenland, because most of them didn't send any soldiers, and those who sent them sent just a few dozen for a short vacation there. So it was a bit of a joke. In fact, the country which currently has the most troops there is the US. Currently, US has enough troops to take over Greenland, because Greenland's population is only 50,000. So the US base of the Space Command is good enough. And in Trump's mind, Greenland is also much larger than it is, But people keep asking this simple question: why does Trump want Greenland? And you will see a range of analysis about this everywhere, and all of it is wrong. You can go see the analysis on BBC, CNN, all of them are wrong. The real reason is not that complex. Trump doesn't want it because of Arctic security, or he doesn't want it because American security demands it. Well, if American security demanded it, America already has a contract, a deal with Denmark from 1951, which says you can put any number of troops that you want. So if tomorrow America wants to put 150,000 troops, it can put them, it can put nuclear missiles, it can do whatever it wants. It doesn't need to own it. So it's not Arctic security, and Donald Trump is not thinking about sea lanes, and even getting minerals out of Greenland is going to be quite a task. It's going to be very difficult to earn a profit on that for a long time to come, until this ice sheet melts. So it's not any of that. It is simply this, that Greenland looks big on the map, and Trump wants it as part of the US map. And he should have done it. That is, Trump is in a hurry. As you can see, this map that he tweeted yesterday, it shows US, Canada, and Greenland as part of US. So even Canada, he's got his eyes on. And he just wants a greater America, and Donald Trump should have done that. He should be remembered. That is, Donald Trump realizes that he is in his last term. He's got only 3 years left. He's aging, and he wants to be remembered in history 100, 200 years from today as a man who made America great again. Well, he may be remembered, but for something else. He may be remembered for the president who finally weakened the Western alliance. He might be remembered as the guy who finally made America alone again. He might be remembered as the guy who brought back great power politics back into contention and kind of weakened the rules-based order. So I don't think the rules-based order is about to completely disappear. I believe that future American presidents will realize the value of the Western alliance. They will realize the value of a stable world order, and they will again try to, it will never go back to how it was. That's because the US public also doesn't want to pay now. The US voter doesn't want to pay for global wars and global alliances. But the US will remain engaged in a different manner. And if you want, you can watch my other video on AI and warfare, where I explain how US is going to be the leading global power for a long time to come. Not just today as it is, due to its $1 trillion defense budget and whatnot. It's far ahead of everybody else in technology, but because it's also going to be the leader in AI-infused weapons, which are going to be much faster, which are going to be much more lethal, and which are going to be much more capable. So US has the lead in AI technology, as I explained in that video, and therefore US is going to be the leader of the pack there. So the US hegemony and US primacy is going nowhere. Don't be worried. But the US taxpayer may not want to fund global hegemony and global public goods. Do a separate video on that. But for now, Greenland and Europe can breathe a bit easy for now. And keep watching. I'll come back with another video very quickly. Thank you.